Hello, I'm Jas.
I'm James, and we are Simian Mobile Disco. With our new project, we decided that we wanted to record this album in a different way than we've recorded albums in the past. We have kind of stripped out our studio into like one box of synthesizers each, if that makes sense, and a mixer and a sequencer each. So it's very like small and portable, and we made the new album on this equipment. But in that way, we kind of recorded the album pretty live, and so the album and the live show are pretty similar, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, we were quite excited to try it out in front of people for the first time, even before people have heard it on record.
So there's a bit of an interesting story about recording the album like in the middle of the desert or something. Tell us about how that came about and the sort of concept.
I suppose it followed on from the fact that the rig that we had made was portable. Our studio has become more and more full of kind of junk, really, but junk that we love. And we kind of felt that like having toured, doing the live thing, the stuff that happened in the live show happened on the record. And so we made this kind of portable thing, and then we realised that we had basically a studio. I mean, it's a mixer and it's a bunch of synths. That's exactly what our studio is. And so we realised that we didn't need to record in our studio. I mean, obviously the final mixing and stuff was done because you can actually hear stuff in our studio. But we realised that it could be recorded anywhere, and so, yeah, it seemed like a sensible idea to take it out to kind of a biker bar out in the Joshua Tree and recorded it in the desert. It was really, really fun. And not something that we could have done previously, and kind of, it was like an unexpected twist in the kind of process.
Why there, and what kind of reaction did you get in somewhere that maybe is more used to, say, U2 coming and doing stuff there?
I've recorded in the Joshua Tree before with a few different bands, and I've always kind of loved that place. There's something pretty special about it. But, you know, if you go there, you instantly feel kind of relaxed, and there's a lot of like kind of big nature and sort of, you know, huge panoramas, and it's a very inspiring place to be. When we were coming up with the idea of this album, we realised that, you know, we could record it anywhere we wanted to, and we got offered this gig in this little bar called Pappy and Harriet's, which is, in the middle of nowhere, basically. So we thought it was a good idea to accept the gig, even before we'd thought about what the album was going to be. We were writing music for this environment, you know, and that really changed the music we made and the way we thought about our music making process. And it was really kind of exciting for us, you know, to think we're writing this music for this strange gig in the desert, you know. And we did like one run through outside in the middle of nowhere, in the Joshua Tree, amongst all these huge kind of boulders that look like they've fallen from space. And then we did a gig at Pappy and Harriet's outside under the stars, and there was, you know, quite a big crowd, and, you know, people knew they were coming to hear something that they hadn't heard before. And we basically assembled those two recordings into the album.
Okay, so tell me more about the sound of the album. I've read things like soundscapes, or maybe a bit more ambient. How would you describe the change?
We've been doing a lot of kind of more club-related stuff out on our own label called Delicacies. But this album, we didn't really want to make a club record. You know, we honestly made this system with you know, two synthesizers, a mixer, and two sequencers. And beyond that, we didn't have any plan about what the music was going to be. We were just happy to let it develop into its own thing, and let it kind of become its own animal, if you know what I mean. And that's what we did. And I suppose it's quite a natural album for us. It feels, you know, there's a lot more of the kind of, I suppose, you know, we've always been into like early electronic pioneers, from the kind of like cluster and krautrock stuff back to Suzanne Kiani and Joe Meek and all of those kind of people. Then obviously there's a bit of like early warp, you know, kind of LFO and Aphex and Autechre, and then hopefully a bit of kind of a modern slant on it as well, you know. So we really didn't try to make it anything. We just kind of made the music that came out.
Okay, so that sort of progression, maybe getting less clubby, is that you moving on? Do you still go clubbing yourselves?
We go DJing most weekends. I think it was almost like a division. After the last album, we spent a while doing, as James was saying, more of the Delicacy stuff, which is like just club music. You know, it's like just putting out 12s, and it's not for home listening. And there's a definite change in attitude when you're making something that's supposed to work at 4 a.m. It's very different to making something that needs to make sense at home or on headphones. And essentially we didn't really know what we wanted to make, but we knew we didn't want to make a club record. And so effectively we made this system and then just like had a go on it, and every time it made club music we deleted it. And then the stuff that wasn't club music is basically what the record is. And that's not to say, you know, I guess as you're implying, that we're kind of moving away from club music. If anything, I feel like these detours away from club music make you want to go back there. It's just that thing where if you just do it the same all the time, you start to resent it, you know? Like, there's more to life than just, you know, same old records all the time.
Did you ever think about, you know, some producers have different names for their different sort of outputs?
We really did. We were going to call this a different name, and
Simian Mobile Disco.
Or just a totally different thing, you know, and a different name. But then, I don't know, we got talked out of it by management and stuff like that, you know. I actually think it's, in a way, looking back, I think it was the right thing to do, to just keep it under our name, because it is actually a pretty, if you listen to the records we've done, it's a pretty, you know, logical progression, not to quote LTJ Buckham, but it feels like it makes sense from our last record, and yeah, it feels like a natural representation of the music we like and the music we want to make, you know.
I think the original idea was that we did it under another name, and probably if we'd had a proper label and if we had like managers that told us what to do, we probably would have done it under another name, just as to kind of get it out of our system. But when we said, look, we're going to make this like largely improvised random droney machine and then tour it around, they were like, yeah, great, you should definitely do that. The fact that they would let us do it, there's no one to say no, basically. They're all into the idea.
And of course, you know, it's easier to get gigs and stuff when you've already got a name, and, you know, that you know, it's slightly daunting starting from scratch sometimes, you know. And I think as well, we've consistently changed album by album, you know. I don't think people are expecting us to make, you know, if they are, then they're daft, but yeah, I hope people aren't expecting us to make the same record that we made last time.